Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you my September wrap-up. Now, September was a shitty fucking month. I kind of explained this a little bit in my October TBR. September sucked. I was participating in Becca's Bookopoly-thon, which I was so excited about. I had a TBR set. I was like super stoked, and then everything just went downhill. A whole bunch of shit happened in my personal life. I got really stressed out. When I get stressed out, I don't read. Instead, I binge watch TV. Like, what was I? Oh, ID Discovery was huge. I was binge watching a lot of that. I was watching, I can't remember. I was just, Unsolved Mysteries. That's my go-to. Like, it's really sad that Unsolved Mysteries and listening to Robert Stack talk about creepy shit is like my go-to comfort thing to watch. Like, what is wrong with me? But stuff like that. And I just zone out. I color on my tablet and it's just, and that's just what I do. Like, I can't concentrate to read because of stress. Things have started to calm down now, so I feel a little bit better when it comes to reading. Calm down in some areas, others not so much. Just had an incident today that deals with kids' school, and I'm really torqued, but I'm not going to go on about it, but I'm not a happy camper. So some things are better than others, but I haven't read much yet this month either. I've started reading, but then I haven't read the last 3 days because I've spent, what did I do? I was hanging out with friends mostly. Saturday, I just didn't read. I was tired. I slept. Sunday was football. Nothing gets done on Sundays during football season. And yesterday I spent all day with one of my best friends who I hadn't seen in 2 months. So that I consider worth it. So we're on the 6th day of October. Haven't finished a book yet, but I am 100 pages into one and 50 pages into another. So at least I'm starting, liking what I'm reading. But as far as September went, September was absolute garbage. It was a dumpster fire. I only read 3 books and I DNF'd 1. That's how good it was. The 3 books I did read were on Kindle, so that's why I'm not holding anything in the thumbnail. Yeah. And what I did read was good. It's just I should have read way more. And I think I kind of got slumped because what I'd set my Becca's Bookopoly-thon, like my Bookopoly-thon TBR to, just the roles I got, a lot of it was YA and stuff I wasn't super excited to read about right this second. And I think that made me suffer because then I'm sitting there staring at it going, okay, well, I really should pick that up, and I really want to read that, but I don't really want to right now, and it's like, oh, but what do I do? And then I just do the waffling and overthink everything, and then I never picked anything up. And then with all the stress, and I'm like, oh, I just can't. And it is what it is. I'm fine with it. Hey, some people only read 3 books a year, 3 books a month. It's not as good as what I'd like to be, where my average, like last year, was anywhere from 5 to 7 a month. It's not as good, but it's not terrible either. At least I read something, right? So first I'll talk about the DNF, and I feel really bad, but I DNF'd Golden Son by Pierce Brown. This is the 3rd time I've tried to read Golden Son. The first time I didn't make it very far. Second time I tried audiobook and was like tuning out and getting confused. So I'm like, no, I need to read it physically. Tried this physically as a buddy read, and I was buddy reading it with my friend Cindy. She finished it because I told her, I was like, I'm just not picking it up. I'm really sorry. Like, I don't want to drag you down. You go ahead and finish. She finished it and she absolutely fucking loved it. She can't wait to continue. She said it was really, really good. I, for some reason, can't get into this. I struggled to get into Red Rising a little bit, but Red Rising was so much like, had so many Hunger Game vibes that it was kind of easy because everybody knows that story. With Golden Son, you get way more politics. There's so many characters that you're trying to keep track of and who's allied with who and who's related to who, and like it's confusing, and I just couldn't get into it. Like I think part of it was I didn't connect with Darrow at all. I actually don't really care for him that much. He's definitely got the martyr complex. That's one of those traits that or tropes that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like the martyr complex, and I like a couple of the other characters and they were fine and their conflicts were okay and I enjoyed that, but it's just I didn't have any desire to pick it up. None. Like, I read 150 pages this time, which was the furthest I'd gotten, and that some shit had gone down, but I just had no desire to pick it up, and I felt bad for bringing Cindy down with me, so I told her just to go on without me, carry on without me, and like, you know, be a Darrow, be a martyr about it. So I DNF'd it. Will I try to read it again? I don't know. For me, it's kind of like 3rd time's a charm. I've tried 3 times. If you're not going to like it after 3 fucking times, you're probably not going to like it at all. So I don't really know. But on the other hand, I own the other 3 books in the series. I have the first 5. So do I just unhaul them all, create more shelf space, or do I try to force myself? I don't really want to force myself. It just bums me out because I really thought I would love this series, and to just not like this, it really bums me out. First book I actually finished in the month of September was Restless Slumber by KJ Sutton. Restless Slumber is the sequel to Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. This I gave 3. I think it was 3 stars. Maybe this one I gave 4. Can't remember. It's been a while. Can't remember. It's 3 or 4. I gave Fortuna Sworn 3 stars. And it's not that I hated it. I liked the storyline. I wasn't a fan of Fortuna. And in Restless Slumber, she gets better. Kinda. This one, like, it was really good and the storyline was better than book 1 for sure. And, you know, we get to see a little bit of her history and like where she came from and what she went through when she was younger. Like the relationship between her and Colith really developed really well. And I really enjoyed seeing that because that was something that in the first book, Colith was doing all the work and Fortuna was just being a giant bitch. And in this one, you can both see them and it was, I don't know, I liked the relationship development in this one. But the ending, I fucking hated the ending. I ranted about it in one of my vlogs. I can't remember which one. It was the first or second one. I ranted about it pretty hard. Yeah, I fucking hated the ending. So, spoilers. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go full spoilers for the end of Restless Slumber because I can't talk about why I hated it without actually revealing the spoiler. So at the end of Restless Slumber, they're being attacked and there's a witch. Like this one deals a lot with werewolves, which it was really cool to see her take on werewolves. There is a witch who was working for the werewolves or something like that or working for somebody. And she's a necromancer. I think she was working for the wolves. Yes, I can't remember. Yes, it's been a while. But she's a necromancer and she raises the dead, and so you have killer attack zombies, and Fortuna knows what she's doing and is trying to stop her because she knows her. This is the witch that used to date her brother, Damon. That's his name, right? Demon, I hate him, whatever. I think it's Damon. So she finds her. She knows she's off in the woods a little bit off from their house. She's really, really angry because the zombies have killed somebody that Fortuna loves, and so she goes to kill her. And with Fortuna being a nightmare, her powers are developing and getting stronger and she can do things that her parents weren't able to do and stuff like that. So she can project her, and we've known forever that with her nightmare powers, she can project the fears, your greatest fears, into your head and make you hallucinate and see them. And she can do it so forcefully, it literally breaks your brain and your brain kind of melts and you die. And this is what she's attempting to do to this witch because, you know, what the witch's actions have done have severely hurt family and people that she loves. So Colith steps in front of her and is like, no, you're not like this. You're not going to kill her over this. Like, she's been punished enough. You've scared her enough to make the zombies stop. You're not going to kill her. And she's like, yes, I am, blah, blah, blah. And she tries to exert her magic over and around Colith and onto the witch, and Colith steps the wrong way, and that full power of her magic hits Colith and kills him. Okay, so she can kill fairies, apparently. So kills him. Of course, she's devastated because, you know, she's falling in love with him and she hasn't yet told him that she's in love with him. And of course, this is supposed to be like a 6-book series. So I'm going, Colith isn't going to die and we still have 100 pages left. So there's got to be a way to bring him back. She's going to find a way to bring him back. So this was kind of cool because it kind of ties into Supernatural and kind of expands the world. The show Supernatural reminded me very much of that, but it expands the world. She goes to a crossroads, calls a crossroads demon. So this crossroads demon shows up in the form of somebody that she absolutely fucking hates. She abhors this person. His name is Ian. He's like a sheriff's deputy in town. He's really sleazy and gross and has always made snide comments toward her, like sexual comments. He's just nasty. And so that's where this roadside demon, or this is where this crossroads demon appears as this person that she really hates. So she knows she's going to have to give up something valuable in order for Colith to come back, because demons don't play and you're making a deal with the devil pretty much. Like, you're going to have to pay big. So she assumes that, you know, oh, I'll just give my soul up. I'll swear my soul to the devil pretty much, or to this demon, and I'll get Colith back. No. The demon's like, no, I want something more precious to you. She was kind of like sitting there and she was thinking about it. She's like, oh my God, the demon wanted her fucking virginity. And that's what pissed me the fuck off. Okay, first of all, I understand the reason Fortuna decided to remain a virgin was very, very valid. It wasn't like, and if you, If you don't want to have sex with anybody ever, that's totally 100% your choice. But she always has wanted to. The reason she doesn't is because if she touches somebody skin to skin, she can see all their innermost fears. And that's really distracting. It kind of reminded me a lot of Sookie in that effect, where, you know, if Sookie touched somebody, she could read their thoughts. And, you know, that's distracting. If you're trying to, you know, focus on sex and like what's happening to you and the sensations and the feelings, but all you can see is that the person that you're trying to have sex with is super afraid of snakes or spiders, like, I mean, it ruins the moment, right? So I understand why she remained a virgin, because, you know, she didn't think she'd be able to have the actual true experience. So I totally understand, and her reasons are very valid, and I was totally fine with that. The fact that the demon thought that her virginity was more precious to her than anything else in her life, and that's what he needed in order for this demon to bring Colith back, just fucking pissed me off. The author did it in a way to create a trauma and a conflict that's going to reverberate through the rest of it, and I'm still debating whether or not I want to keep reading the series, because this demon, she agrees because Colith is her one true love and she wants to bring him back. So she's a virgin. The demon literally rapes her, and it's described in detail, rapes her up against a tree where you can see the PTSD happening because she's starting to, you know, mentally remove herself from her body, like where she doesn't even feel it, doesn't know he's there. Not to mention this demon is in the form of a person who she hates and has always been really sleazy and overtly sexual towards her and with unwanted advances. So the demon is wearing that person's face while they're raping her, not nicely. And, you know, the demon like gets off the whole 9 yards. And so she's staying there, like, and the demon disappears, is like, okay, it's done. And she's all like, you know, broken and whatever. And, you know, goes back in the very end of the book, Colith wakes up. So, okay, yeah, the demon kept his side of the deal. What pisses me off is that there are so many other ways you could have created trauma or conflict that would further the story that didn't involve sexual assault and rape. Like, why? So now, from now on, through the rest of the books, every time she sees the one character that the demon took the face of, she's going to have panic attacks. She's going to have anxiety. Her PTSD is going to come back full force, because all she's going to see is the rape and sexual assault that happened to her with the demon wearing that person's face. Then she's not going to want to touch Colith or have sex with him or do anything romantic or whatever, because him touching her is going to remind her of the fact that she was raped and the fact she's no longer a virgin and that her first time is with the demon just to save his life. So there'll be resentment towards Colith because, oh, I had to lose my virginity and be raped in order to save your life. So there's going to be resentment there. Plus the relationship is going to, you know, suffer a huge setback because now she's not going to probably want him to touch her. Don't know this for sure. This is all speculation because this creates conflict and drama. So this is going to create a huge amount of stress and drama for her, where she's going to be a panic-ridden mess, all because of this choice she made to bring back, you know, her love, which I understand wanting to do it. But if the author wanted to keep the trauma and make it dramatic, you could have done it without the sexual assault. You could have killed her fucking brother. First of all, I hate him. He's a whiny piece of shit he just complains about everything. His sister's literally given up her life for him to help take care of him, raise him, be there with him. They're the only two nightmares left. Like, look out for each other. And when she rescues him in book 1, he just treats her like absolute garbage. And I understand he was brainwashed and all that shit, but Damon's still an asshole and he still treats his sister like shit. Could have killed him off. It would have still caused the trauma. Totally. She would have lost her brother, the only family member she has left. So she would suffer the loss. There would be, you know, drama, conflict with Colith, because the reason her brother is dead was to save him, like a life for a life. Well, you're the reason my brother is dead, but I still have you. And that would be a hard choice to make. Do I keep my brother or do I keep Colith? Like, which maybe the author thought that she would definitely choose her brother. At this stage, I don't know which one she would choose. I've gone over all the scenarios in my head on like how this could have been done differently. And there's ways around it, but for the demon to say, oh, I need something more precious and it's your virginity, it just felt low and skeezy, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. It just made me feel icky. And it's like, I already know how everything else is going to go. Like book 3, she's just going to be a trauma, PTSD ridden mess. And it's just, which is fine. Like with characters like suffering through that, it's fine. But the reason how she got there, I did not like it. I fucking hated it. It was like, why? And I remember reading going, oh, we're not doing this. I was like, please tell me we're not doing this. I don't know. It just really pissed me off. I really did not enjoy that was the way and the direction she decided to go. Strong feelings. And I know Becca and Ashley really love this series. And the first book was like 3 stars. It was fine. This one I really enjoyed a lot more until that fucking ending. When that ending came, I literally, I didn't. I wanted to throw it. I wanted to throw the book, but it was on my Kindle. I'm like, I can't throw it. I'll break my fucking iPad. But, yeah. It was one of those ones where it's like, oh, you could have done it so many different ways. There were so many other things you could have done. Why this? Why? Yeah. So I think it's 3 stars is what I gave it. I think it was going to be a 4 because it was a strong 4 through the entire book until we got to that part. And there was a whoosh, I almost dropped it down another star just for that last scene alone, or that last couple 100 pages alone, because I just couldn't do it. Next book I read was Pestilence by Laura Thalassa. This is book 1 in the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse series. This is a quartet. There's 4. There's Pestilence, War, Famine, and Death. Famine just came out October 1st, which I will be reading in October. And then Death, I think, doesn't come out till 2021. So this series takes place, I think it starts out like now-ish. So like everything's fine, normal. 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse show up. And the day that they do, everything kind of stops working. Anything electronic stops working. Internet goes away, cars stop working, electricity is touch and go. Some people have it, some people don't. Same with running water. People are using wells and stuff like that. So we kind of get set back like 300 to 400 years. We lose pretty much every technology that we ever had. No planes, no kind of vehicles whatsoever. Nothing works unless it's like by hand. So this makes things a lot harder. Obviously, it's the start of the apocalypse. What I liked about how she set up the apocalypse was that it's not like zombies and, anything crazy. It's just like pretty much like what if technology shut down, and then pestilence shows up. So like the apocalypse happened where they all 4 show up and then they all 4 disappear. But it was enough to affect the entire world with like electronics and all that kind of shit. So everybody's living in an apocalyptic world where they have all the technology has ceased to exist pretty much, or stopped working. And then I think, what did it say? Like 5 years into the apocalypse, pestilence shows up. Just Pestilence. And he shows up in Canada. So it says in the beginning that when the horsemen showed up, Pestilence went north, War went east, Famine went south, and Death went west. Which is kind of hard because I'm trying to figure out where Death is going to show up. Because Pestilence said in the story that they started in Miami and then he went up the eastern seaboard of the United States, up into Canada, went across Canada all the way to the west. And then by the time this book ends, they're in LA. They're in California. So you pretty much did the north, but you also did the westernmost part of the world to where the date line hits. Like, I don't know how much more west you can go. So where's Death going to go? And I guess it doesn't really matter, but logistics. So in this story, Pestilence shows back up, and our main character's name is Sarah, and she's a firefighter in BC, Whistler, BC. So that's just north of me. In Canada. And so she's a firefighter, there's like 3 or 4 other firefighters, and they're drawing matches, like, lit matches. Whoever gets the burnt match loses, to see who's going to stay and try to kill Pestilence when he comes through town. Sarah loses. The other 4 guys leave to go be with their families, and she lies in wait for Pestilence. Pestilence comes down the highway on the road riding his steed. So she kills him brutally, but then quickly realizes Pestilence can't die. And the way that she tries to kill him is described in detail. So there's definitely trigger warnings for violence and like blood and gore and sickness. Gore, I don't necessarily think it's gore, but like, nasty disease descriptions. That if you're sensitive to that, like medical like type thing, you might want to steer clear. And she firebombs him pretty much. He gets knocked down, and she she shot him with a shotgun first. Shot him with a shotgun in the face, knocked him off. He wasn't dead, so then she set him on fire. Yeah, meanwhile, as he's like screaming and crying for help. But then she learns that Pestilence can't die. He is immortal. Everything starts kind of putting itself back together again. Albeit slowly, but still does. Pestilence, of course, goes after her and is like, you tried to kill me, so I'm going to kill you. But then decides that he's not going to kill her. He's just going to take her captive, and she's just going to have to ride along with him. And the story goes from there. So Sarah is an okay character. She's very strong to a degree, but there were certain things about her I wasn't really a fan of. Major trigger warnings for torture towards the beginning of the book. If you're really sensitive to any kind of torture, maybe steer clear. I mean, these books are kind of taboo romance in the fact that they're four horsemen of the apocalypse, and these women are falling in love with literally somebody that's supposed to be evil and is trying to kill humanity. So it can be, you know, ugh. And you have to remember, like, at the beginning of these books, all of the horsemen, they're fucking assholes. They're here to kill humanity. Like, they don't give a fuck. And then as the book goes, they soften and become nicer, and then it's fine. These are very much taboo in that way, you know, where there might be a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome. Because there's these, like, you know, especially in Pestilence, where he takes Sarah as a prisoner, and as they're going together, she tends to fall for him. Pestilence is very, babyish in a way. Like, he doesn't know much about humanity. He doesn't really understand how humans work or how their thought process is and how they feel and why they feel emotion about certain things. So he is constantly asking Sarah, like, well, why do you feel like that? Or why is it like this? And she finds it funny, like, okay, like, you know, and finds them kind of funny. So because of that, I don't really enjoy, like, where it's like, oh, she's going to teach him how. Like, the first time they sleep together, which is one thing I love about Laura Thalassa, is that they're not instantly fucking in the books. Like, her books are like 400-something pages. They don't start sleeping together till at least halfway through, if not a little further. And I really appreciate that. I don't like the instant jump into bed as much. I like the slow burn. I like to watch them get there. And they did. And Pestilence, everywhere that he goes, people get sick. Like, he doesn't even have to do anything. Just him being in the area, people get sick. And what did they call it? The Messianic Plague. So almost like the Messiah Plague. And it's not as bad. It's kind of like the Black Death, but a little bit different. Like, it takes about 4 days to kill you. You get really high fevers. You get boils and sores all over your body that, like, ooze and stuff like that. And it's described. And then you just kind of die in your sleep. So as they're moving along through the countryside and stuff like that, they're taking over houses and staying there, and the people there are dying, and Pestilence kind of grows along the way. And, you know, Sarah's trying to convince him to save humanity. Like, not everybody's bad, like, kind of that deal. And it's interesting. The torture scenes in the beginning were a little hard. It was like, oh, and she's gonna end up loving this guy. It's like, ugh. They weren't bad, but, like, I imagining myself having to go through it, that would suck. Like, he is so mad at her at the beginning because he hates her and she tried to kill him. He ties her wrists together and ties that to the back of his horse, so then as his horse gallops, she has to run behind or be dragged. And they do this for miles and miles, and eventually she keeps up the first day, but eventually she's so tired and weak that she ends up getting dragged. And so that is described. So if it doesn't happen for very long, but it's described if you're sensitive, just so you know. But Pestilence also has the power to heal as well. He can heal and he can take sickness away. So, like, if you have an infection, he can take it away or whatever. And, you know, so it's like the opposite. Like, so they have both powers. So, like, he can make anybody sick with any kind of disease he could ever imagine, but he can also heal anybody from any disease ever imagined. So they have both sides of the power, or both sides of their ability. I enjoyed Pestilence. I gave it 4 stars. I found it to be pretty steamy, and I like the apocalyptic world and the fact that it's not, like, typical. It's just like, you know, what would happen, like, if something like this happened, and it's very different than a lot of other post-apocalyptic books that I've ever read. And at the very end of the book, which I assume is going to happen with the next 2, I know it happens in the second book, but I'm soon it will in book 3 as well. It says, you know, it shows Pestilence and what he's doing, and then, you know, how many years after he is to when his next brother wakes up and hearing the next brother. And speaking of that, the third and final book I read this month was War by Laura Thalassa, which is book 2 in the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse series. I liked War better than Pestilence, but I still only gave it 4 stars. War takes place in Jerusalem. They call it New Palestine. I didn't do any research. I don't think that's actually what anything's called over there now. I think she had said in the book that they renamed it that. But, so it's like the main character Miriam lives in Jerusalem, and she comes from Muslim. One parent is Muslim and the other parent is Jewish. So I think she said her mom was Israeli and her dad was Muslim. I can't remember exactly, but so she's mixed race and mixed religion, and she's all by herself, and she is somebody who makes weapons. Like, she goes and gets wood and stuff like that, and she chips them all down and makes arrows and bows and axes and, like, all sorts like that. So she's useful. And one morning she's going out and some dude's following her and being all creepy. And like, she goes, he's either going to try to kill me or rape me. And so she kills him because she's really good with the bow and arrow. And she goes to go scavenge for her wood or whatever. And she sees War come up and he's got a huge ass fucking army behind him. And then all hell breaks loose. And the story goes from there. So I really liked War. War takes place in the Middle East. So they go, I think, through their entire travels. They start out in Jerusalem where you meet Miriam. And they go through Sudan. Egypt, I know. They go through a big chunk of Egypt. And that's kind of where they end, is when they're in Egypt. And at the very end of the book, they end up in Crete, I think. So I liked that it was in a different spot. I liked that Miriam was of mixed race and of mixed religious heritage. It was nice diversity to have in the book. But War, as a character, like as a horseman, I liked better. He's more world-weary than Pestilence. He's not as babyish. He's been around the block. When he does have sex with somebody, it wasn't his first time, or it was for Pestilence. Like, so that innocent crap is gone. War, the way War is described, he's very brutal. He really doesn't give a fuck. He's all about death. I mean, his name says it all. His name's War. And so everywhere he goes, he kills a whole bunch of people, and then they have a choice to either stay with him and live in the camp and like either do stuff like cook, clean, take care of people, whatever, or join the army, or they can die right there. And he's just slaughtering every single town and city he goes through. When he sees Miriam, literally in the second chapter, when he sees her and she's trying to kill him and it's not working, so he's coming over to kill her with his giant sword, and all of a sudden he stares at her and he calls her wife. And she's like, wife, what the fuck? So from day one, he's called her wife. And what's interesting is that he speaks any language known to man. I believe Pestilence could too. But War speaks a lot in tongues or like angelic speak or like angel language. And Miriam can understand him, which she thinks is odd because she's like, I've never heard this language before. I have no idea what it is, but I can understand him. And that was kind of odd. It kind of made the book a little bit more interesting. And, slowly, she warms up to War, of course, like he keeps calling her wife and he treats her a little different. And she works on him, to try to get him to stop killing. Like, she doesn't understand why he keeps killing. She makes a good friend along the way. I just like the way War was set up a little better. I like the way I like what his development was better than Pestilence. Pestilence seemed kind of clunky in his development, whereas War seemed way more seamless and it just made more sense. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed War a lot more. So I'm hoping like with each one it gets better. Like Famine, I haven't started yet. So, and Famine, I guess, takes place in Brazil. So we're moving to another continent. I'm just excited. I just liked War a lot better. I gave it 4 stars. Let's see if there's anything else that's like super important. There's trigger warnings a lot in War as well for graphic violence, described graphic violence, zombie violence. One of War's little tricks is he can raise the dead because, again, he's the bringer of death. His name is War. So he has the ability to either bring people back from the dead. Granted, when he does, they are in whatever state they were when they died, or if they died 20 years ago, whatever state they're in now. And he has the ability to kill almost at will. So, it's kind of like back and forth. He also has healing abilities to a degree. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked War. And I think that's why I was kind of nervous to get into Famine right away. Because it's like, reading them back to back to back, but they're so good. And I love Laura Thalassa's writing. In case you haven't noticed, she's the author that wrote the Rhapsodic and the Bargainer series, which I absolutely loved. I just really like her writing. It's really engaging. I like the way she writes, especially the males. Some of the females, I'm like, I wasn't a fan of Sarah as much, but I did really love Miriam. So I'm curious to see what I think of the new female protagonist in Famine. But yeah, I highly enjoyed them. If you're into like post-apocalyptic stuff with some smut, but it's a taboo kind of relationship because you got a little bit of the Stockholm syndrome, but these women are still badasses on their own, I highly suggest you check them out. And Famine just was released October 1st. So, but yeah, I really love them. I now want to read almost everything that she's ever read or read authors that write similar to her. I probably need to get back into May Sage again. I really did enjoy her back in the day. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my September wrap-up. Those are the 3 books that I read and the one I DNF'd. Hoping October will go better. I mean, this literally was just another fantasy romance month. Like, no excuses. It was what it was. I'm glad I at least got 3 books read. That's better than none at all. If you read any of these books, please let me know down in the comments below. I love chatting with you guys. If you have any recs that are similar to those, you know, or similar to like Laura Thalassa, please let me know. I'd be happy to check them out. I have Kindle Unlimited. I don't mind spending a couple bucks on a Kindle book or whatever, if it's going to be really good. So just let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, the last Bookoplathon vlog is not going up because I realized there was only like 2 or 3 clips and I didn't finish anything else, and I figured it would just be a waste of fucking time. I am going to vlog in the month of October. I've already started it. The first one's probably going to go for 2 weeks because I only have 1 clip filmed because I started reading and then I haven't for the last 3 days. So that will carry on. I'll post that probably next week, so I'll let it go for like 2 weeks. But that's it. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.